Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the United States, and I am so happy that you are here with me tonight. So let's take a look and see who we have on. I am about a half a minute early. So let's see if this has popped up here for me. And refresh the screen again so we can see who's on. And, well, that didn't work either. Let's try that again. How far behind is? There we go. Now we're up. There we go. Okay. Hello, Laura. Hello, Jennifer. Oh, I got a glare. Let's see if we can get rid of that. Oh, it's just a glare on the case. Oh, well. There we go. There we go. All right. So, the first thing we're going to talk about tonight is Stampin' Up! Announced yesterday that there is free shipping starting tomorrow, October 22nd, that goes for 3 days on orders of $75 or more. So get your list together, and if you're here in Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest, this will go live for you at 11 p.m. tonight. Hello, Cynthia. So get your orders ready. Make sure that you get those in between the 22nd and the 24th, and realize that this offer will end at 10:59 p.m. on the 24th if you are here in the Pacific Northwest. Okay? Because it runs beginning midnight on October 22nd through midnight on the 24th. However, that is mountain time. So if you're not in the mountain time zone, then you need to adjust your hours accordingly. Okay, so there we are. So now everybody knows about free shipping. $75 or more are the orders, and that's before tax and shipping and after you have taken any rewards, Stampin' Rewards, or coupons that you may have. So if you have a $5 coupon that's getting ready to expire from the World Crafting Day, you would actually need to spend $80 so that after you take the $5 off, you still have $75. And don't forget to use those coupons because they will expire and you don't want to lose your $5. Okay, so tonight we are going to be using Delicate Pines, both the stamp set and the die bundle. This is a fabulous bundle, and there's a lot more dies than this. This set actually has 22 dies. Most of the rest of the dies are right here, and these are dies that we're going to be using. Okay, we're also going to be using some of these too, but I have them in different spots. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And let's see, we're going to start with this card first. And so we're going to start with a shaded spruce card base. And then we're going to pull out some Silent Snowfall Designer Series paper. You get 6 sheets in the package and they all look like this. Okay, so we're going to start by folding our card base. giving that a good burnish with our bone folder. All of the Stampin' Up! Supplies that you see me using this evening are available for purchase in my online store. Okay, so we've got this piece of Silent Snowfall, and we are going to take the Pretty Peacock. Actually, no, we're not using Pretty Peacock. We're using Lost Lagoon. I wanted it to be a little bit lighter. So we're going with some Lost Lagoon and a blending brush, because Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock go really well together. They're basically shades of each other. And I'm just going to swirl on a little bit of color here. I don't want a lot. I just don't want this stark white background. So we're just going to swirl on some color here. All right. Just want to give that a little bit of added interest. And then we're going to take, hang on, let me clean that. Oh, look, I got a little cleaner right here. Right here. Let's clean that up real quick. Okay. From Woodland Scenery, I took this little snowflake trio and I mounted that on a block. Oh, and again, we're going to use Lost Lagoon because I wanted it to be lighter. And we're just going to randomly stamp in. No, I know I didn't stamp off. So we're just going to do this. Just going to randomly stamp some snowflakes in here. And notice I turn in my paper here so that my snowflakes don't all look identical. Let's see. Maybe one right here. And maybe one down here. And maybe one right there. Okay. So there we go. Let's randomly stamp those in there till you're happy. And then we're going to set this piece aside. Actually, we can go ahead and mount this. Dry that off. Whoops, move my thing. Let's dry that off. And then we'll just take a little bit of Stampin' Seal here and add this to our card base. I'm going to do it this way. So I know I'm going to put my sentiment at the bottom. So there we go, we got that. Now, let's take a piece of basic white. And this is basically a scrap, but it needs to be at least 4 inches by 4 inches. Okay, this is just a scrap of basic white. It took a 2 3/8 inch punch, and I punched out a circle. And I'm just going to set this in my circle, or in the center of this paper as best I can. I'm going to trace around that lightly with a pencil. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside. And now I'm going to bring in from the Delicate Pines this image, and we're going to bring in some Pretty Peacock ink, which I've already buried with my stamp cleaner. Let's put that back where it belongs. Okay, so I'm going to take this, ink that up in Pretty Peacock. I'm going to stamp that down. And I'm going to try to line it up so it goes around that circle. Like so. Okay. So now I've got myself a wreath. And we're going to die cut this. So we're going to take from Spotlight on Nature. And I'm going to take this die right here, which barely fits this piece. And I'm going to tape that down so it doesn't move. Get that how I want it. And we're going to go just like that. And then I'm going to tape that down. And then I'm actually going to cut because I want this to go through my mini, and right now my piece is too big. I'm just going to cut this down so it'll go right through the mini machine. But I didn't want to start with a piece that was 3.5 by 3.5 because then I just have to be too careful. Okay, so let's bring in our mini machine. This is the mini Stampin' Cut emboss machine. I love this one. And then we'll just put anything 3.5 inches or smaller on cardstock will fit through. So we're going to go ahead, cut that out. Okay. And then we've got this fancy little edge. And I like to, this has a lot of the little pieces left in it. I like to just drop it here on my glass mat and watch those pieces fall out. Okay, and then we'll just take and sweep those into the trash. Get rid of this. Take one of those pieces and swipe that into the trash. Okay, there we go. So now we're good. Okay, so next, what we need to do is get some die cutting done and some stamping. So I'm going to take these pieces I just cut off. Whoops. And I'm going to take the pine cone from the Delicate Pines. And you're going to need 6 of these. I'm going to stamp these in Early Espresso. Okay. Now there is a die for this. Whoops. So you can just take these and stamp yourself up 6 of them. And then run them through the die cut machine. Okay. And while you're running those through the die cut machine, you'll grab a piece of cherry cobbler cardstock and this little die here. And you need to run this through twice because you need 6 of those. Okay. And that'll all go through your mini. And through the magic of television, I already have those done. Okay. So there's our 6 little pine cones and our 6 little holly berries. And then from Shaded spruce two-tone cardstock. You're going to run, I cut a piece from the two-tone that was 1.5 inches wide by, I cut 2 of those actually, 1.5 inches wide by the 12 inches. And you're going to run this die through 3 times on the dark green side, on the dark shaded spruce. And then you've got 3 of these little ones that you can run through all at once, and all 3 of these will fit in the 1.5 inches wide side by side. And I ran those through on the light side. So we have the dark side of the cardstock for the larger and the light side of the cardstock for the smaller. Okay, so those are the pieces that we need. Now we have one more piece of stamping to do, and that's our sentiment. So let's set those aside for a moment. And let's bring in a piece of basic white, and this piece is 1/2 inch, which is not going to be wide enough, I don't think. Actually, let me look. Did I do this at 1/2? Yep, I did do it at 1/2. Okay, 1/2 inch. And then we're going to take from that same stamp set, Delicate Pines, Celebrate the Season, and get some cherry cobbler ink. And before I do that, hang on, that's going to fall. Before I do that, I'm going to do one thing. So this is a sneak peek of an upcoming punch that will be available to customers on November 4th. Or you could put it in your starter kit right now. You can get a starter kit for $35 and choose up to $125 of product. And I'm going to take this 1/2 inch strip and I'm going to stick it in the end of the middle one here and give that a punch. Okay? And hope that piece falls out because I don't want it to bind up. There we go. Oh, it did fall out. Okay. So then I'm going to take this and I'm going to ink it up. And I'm going to get it to lay down flat. And then I'm going to stamp this. Not very well. Let's try that again, and let's grab, I do better when I put my silicone mat down so that I can see the contrast of the sides here. So we're just going to flip that over. Much better. So if you have trouble with that, use your silicone mat because it gives you the contrast that you need. Okay, so then we're going to take this, again, we're going to take that punch again, but this time we're going to put it in this end, and I'm just going to slide that in here while I'm going to dry. Okay, well, it's going to be stubborn here. Let's do it. I think I can do it that way because I already did it. Hang on. There we go. Now it's in, no problem. Okay, and then I'm just going to take a look and try to even up those sides. And now we have our sentiment strip, and it's a lot longer than that. So I just made that into a much longer strip than the punch actually allows for, but that's how you can do that. Okay, makes your punch go further. So now we have our sentiment strip as well. Let's go ahead and start putting this together. Once you get all these pieces cut, it actually goes pretty quickly. So we're going to start here. And I'm going to lay this down, and actually, let's see, do I want to stamp that first because it was a little bit easier? No, we're just going to do it this way. It'll be fine. Just line those up and get your branches almost touching, and everything will go together the way it should. Okay, so what I did here was I took a glue dot. I'm going to take your pick tool, and I picked up a glue dot, and I put it in the center of the circle there. Okay, now you could use liquid glue, because liquid glue will give you a minute to let you move things around. I'm just going to do that. I just press lightly. If I need to pick it up and move it, I probably can. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. And this time, I'm just going to put this one just like this. And there we go. So now I have a complete snowflake, but we're not going to stop there. I'm going to add some center pieces. We're just going to keep stacking these. And this time I'm going to stick these in the holes that were created here. Once you get those first three together, this part goes pretty easy. Okay, so we'll just stick that on there. And then again, I'm going to turn this. And I'm going to stick this across here like so, so that it's in the center of those openings. And one more glue dot. And one more piece that we're just going to stick right there in the center. And now we have this beautiful lacy snowflake. Okay, and we're going to add this onto here. And again, I'm going to do that with a glue dot. And, well, actually, no, I'm not, because I want to be able to move this around a little bit. So I'm going to use some liquid glue here. If I can get the little glue bugger out. I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to put this in here like this. Oops, try to get that in roughly the center. Okay, that looks about even. Oh, and then it moved. Of course it did. Okay, I think I'm pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to let that dry for just a second. We're going to take these pieces. We're going to get a silicone mat. And I'm going to take all these pieces and flip them over while that dries. Okay. The pine cones are going to go on dimensionals. And the holly berries are going on with liquid glue. So I'm just going to take and put a dot of liquid glue in the center of each holly berry. And that will be enough to hold it. Okay. And then I'm going to take my holly berry and I'm going to flip that over. And I'm going to put these on the long pieces here, sort of toward the top. I'm going to do that on each one. Whoa, get back here. Get back here. Okay. And we'll just keep going until we fill that up. And then we've got that. Okay, so now we've got 6 of those on. Now let's take our dimensionals. And actually, I think I'm going to use the minis. I think I'll just be happier with that. I'm just going to put one in the center. Of each one. Okay, there we go. And then we'll peel off those backings. Well, we will if they choose to peel off, I guess. My goodness, come on. I should have started at the top and worked my way to the front. And then maybe I wouldn't be fighting them. Okay, I think I've got them all off now. And now I'm going to take these and I'm going to put them at the ends of the little branches. All the way around. Oh, and I actually had 7. I cut an extra just in case. Just in case one went missing. But it didn't. So we'll stick that there for another card another day. All right, and we'll move that out of the way. So now we have this piece. And this piece is going to go on here. And we're going to take this piece. And because I turned this over, I want to smush that cut edge so you can't tell. Just smoosh that down. Okay, and then I'm going to take and fan up those banner edges. And then I'm just going to put just a little bit of a crook in here. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to put this down like this. But let's go ahead and put this down first. And I know I don't usually do double dimensionals, but I'm going to today. So I'm going to put this piece down first. And then I'll know exactly where I want my banner. Okay, so we've got that. Now, for this, I'm going to go ahead and take a mini dimensional, and right where that's puffed up, I'm going to put a mini dimensional there. And where it is laying flat against the card, I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue. And then I'm going to place this down like so. Okay. Just like that. I didn't actually take the backing off of my dimensional because I don't want it to actually stick down. I want that to just provide support so that it doesn't smush all the way to the card. Okay, so there is mostly our card. Let's go ahead and put a little of embellishment on there. So we're going to grab this Delicate Pines is actually part of a suite. It's called the Elegant Pine Snowflake Suite, I believe. And I'm going to take the faceted snowflakes that come in that suite, and I'm going to take one large red snowflake, and I'm going to stick that right in the center, right there. And give that a good press. And there is the front of our card. Okay, so for the inside of the card, I took an extra piece of that same paper and I did it the same way. And then I stamped, "May the magic of Christmas fill each corner of your heart and home." And that comes from a stamp set called Words for the Season. This is part of a bundle. It comes with, if you get the bundle, it has a bunch of sentiment dies. Let me see if I can find those pretty quickly here, just to show you. These are the dies. So you get wishes, happy autumn, greetings, new year, holidays, Christmas, Halloween, Merry, and then you get this banner that goes with to you and yours and cherry wishes and the greetings. Okay, so that is a purchase you can make in a bundle, but I have used these the most, the inside sentiments. So we're going to add this to our card. And we'll put that on the inside. Okay. And then we've got our envelope. And there is our envelope. All right, so that is card number 1 with the Delicate Pines. I hope you like that. Thanks, Laura. I am actually really loving this set. Okay, so there we go. Now let's get card number 2. I need all my stamps from, all my stamp pads from card number 1 for card number 2, which is my favorite card and Katie's favorite card too. So let me put this die on here just so it doesn't get lost. I would not want to lose my Spotlight on Nature die. And by the way, this is the second to the largest of those fleur-de-lis circles. Okay, switching out. Here we go. All right, now this particular card doesn't take a lot of supplies other than it takes a lot of ink pads. Okay, so this is my color palette. Apparently I got things all messed up. Okay, now we got them all right. Old Olive, Garden Green, Shaded Spruce, Secret Seed, Lost Lagoon, Pretty Peacock, and Cherry Cobbler. Okay, we're going to need those all. Maybe not Lost Lagoon, though. No, I am using Lost Lagoon, so we are using them all. So in addition to the bundle and all those stamp pads, we're also using a label from Traditional Labels, specifically this little one right here. So let's go ahead and grab that out now. And let's grab our supplies, which we don't need a lot. We need a piece of basic white cardstock. This piece is 3 3/4 by 5. You need a piece of Secret Seed. This is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. You need a Cherry Cobbler card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in half at 4 1/4. And you need a scrap of basic white big enough to stamp your sentiment and die cut this label. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to set the card, well, actually, let's fold the card base, because if I don't fold the card base now, I might forget later. And I really hate that when it's time to put everything together. So let's go ahead and fold and burnish. Okay, and then we'll set these pieces aside and we'll start our stamping. So the first thing we're going to do is stamp our sentiment. Let me put my envelope and card front or inside away. And we're going to take from the same stamp set, Warmest Winter Wishes. And I'm going to try to stamp this right in the center of this label because I don't have a lot of extra room for my die. So I got to make sure I get right in the center here. Okay. I'm going to set that aside. Oh yeah, we did okay. Okay, let me get that out of the way. I don't want to put my finger in it. Got a little die cutting to do. This is the only die cutting on this card. Right here for the sentiment. So let's go ahead, bring that in, line this up as best we can. That looks pretty good. Maybe come up just a bit. Okay, and let's take that down and run it through. Okay. Now we can put our plates away because we're done die cutting. All right, so we've got that. Let's set our sentiment aside and put our label away so it doesn't disappear. Okay. I have one more thing to do to this, and I'm going to take a dark shaded spruce Stampin' Blend. If you don't have a Stampin' Blend and you have a Stampin' Write marker, then by all means use that. I'm going to take the brush tip, and I'm just going to run that around the edge. Oh, Cynthia, I'm sure your cats aren't helping very much. I'm so glad you guys like that last card. Okay, so that's all we're going to do is just go around the edge there. And that'll look like we put a little bit of a border behind it when we really didn't. Okay, it's a way to add a little bit of interest without adding any bulk. Okay, so we can set that aside and we can get to our stamping here. And I'm going to need a piece of scrap paper because we are going to be going off the edge. So let me grab a nice clean one. Okay, so we've got this. All right, now we are going to start with Garden Green. I should have these in the right order. Okay, so we're going to start with Garden Green. And we're going to take the medium snowflake. And I'm going to start down here. And I'm going to put that one in. And then we're going to put one up here. And I'm going to put one down here. Okay? And then we're done with that. And we're going to go to Old Olive. And we're going to take this bow snowflake. And I'm going to try to line this up as best I can. Not that way, because I almost messed that up. Hang on. Let me get this so I can see it decently. Okay, so I want to go to where I'm going in the center of here, and I need to match my 3 little berries with the 3 little berries there. So I've got one on the top here. So we're going to do kind of like that. Okay, and then we're going to do that same thing again down here. Turn that till I get my berries lined up. Okay, there we go. And so now we've got that. So now we're done with our old olive. I'm going to go to Lost Lagoon. And I'm going to take this image, which looks like this. Okay. And I'm going to put it in the middle snowflake. And again, I'm going to line those berries up. And stamp that down right there. Okay. And then we're going to take Pretty Peacock. And I've got the tiniest snowflake. And I'm going to bring this in and line it up on those boughs where I just stamped, like so. Okay. Then I'm going to clean that stamp because we're going to need it again in a minute. Might as well clean this one. It looks like it's going to nab me. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to go back to the pine cone. And we're going to get the early espresso ink. And I'm going to go 1, 2. Oh, darn it. 2. 1, 2. And then we're going to go 1, 2. Okay. And then we're going to take Shaded Spruce. And I'm going to take the tiny little bow trio. And I'm going to put those right between those 2 pine cones at the top. Like so. And then we're going to take Secret C. I'm going to take that tiny snowflake again. And we're just going to do a little bit of fill-in. Randomly stamping. Filling in some of that white space. Okay. Feel like we need a little something up there. Okay, and that looks good to me. No, we're almost done. Okay, there's one other thing I want to do. And I'm going to see if this won't work better. I tried it with the Stampin' Blends, but I'm going to see if it'll work better with the markers. You know, those are on the last chance list. So let's find our Cherry Cobbler marker. And I'm going to see if this will work a little bit better. Okay, so we've got Cherry Cobbler. I'm just going to see if this puts out yep, it's going to be better. Okay, so I'm going to go in here where there are little green dots. dots. And I'm going to take my red cherry cobbler, and I'm just going to dot and change those to cherry cobbler rather than green. It isn't going to be perfect and it doesn't matter. Okay, we're going to do that on all three of these. Just on these outer pieces. I'm not doing it in the centers. Okay, one more set down here, and it's not a full set because we don't have all of the branches from this snowflake. It's only a partial. Okay, there we go. All right. So there is our piece. Okay, so now we're going to add this piece to our secret C. And this is a very thin border. It's only 1/8 of an inch. Okay, then we're going to add this to our card front, making sure that we open our card correctly. I did that when I was designing. I don't think it was on this card, but it was on another card, and I had to take it off, turn it around properly. Okay, so we've got that. Now, we're going to take this, we're going to put this up on dimensionals. I lost one of the feet off of my glass mat, so it keeps flipping. I need to get a new foot. Okay, and then we're going to come down here like so. I'm going to put this about right here. You're going to determine based on where your snowflake's at. So I think I'm going to go just like that. Put my Warmest Winter Wishes there. And then we're going to grab those faceted snowflakes again. And my take your pick tool. And I'm going to get 2 of the smaller red flakes and put in the center of my old olive and garden green there. And then I'm going to take one of the large pretty peacocks and set in there. Okay, and then I like to take when I'm happy with them and push them down with my take your pick tool so that they're nice and secure. Okay, so there is the outside of our card. This one, let me see. There we go. Okay. And then for the inside of this card, I just took the snowflake again, a partial, used the pine cones and the little snowflake. And we're going to add that. And again, this May Your Holiday Season Be Filled with Joy and Happiness is also from that Words of the Season. And I'm just going to put this in here. And there is the second card. Pretty quick and easy. Those cards would be easy to mass produce, especially if you cut all of your white cardstock and then just did each color all in a row. They would go really quickly. So again, this is the Delicate Pines bundle of products. Now, I did want to give you a sneak peek of the project coming on Thursday. Okay. I had something else I was going to tell you, and I lost that thought. Oh, yes. If you were thinking about the 12 days of crafting advent calendar, because I just did that, just completed that series, you guys, free shipping is the best time to grab this up if you haven't already. Okay? So that'll save you a bunch of money on shipping. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at that sneak peek for, excuse me, Thursday night's YouTube. Here it is. This uses the Elegant Pine Snowflake Designer Series paper. This is actually from the paper. I made these snowflakes. And this is a fold flat box. So we'll be making that on Thursday night's YouTube at 7 p.m. Okay, let me go ahead and show you that Elegant Pine Snowflake paper, because if you're going to do your order before Thursday, you might want to throw this in when you see how pretty it is. Now, this is where I cut out those snowflakes from for the box. I have another card that I made using this piece. You'll be seeing that on Friday in the Stampers Group social. And let's see, there's the back side of that paper. Back, back. The back sides are actually pretty usable. This paper is not the same as this paper. They're different. Just want you to know the color scheme is the same, but this is another one that you can cut snowflakes from. Okay, so you can cut all of these little pieces. You'll have the dies for that. Okay, so we've got that, and this is that same one here. So that's this one. And then you've got this great big piece, huge snowflake, great for scrapbooking. Okay, and then again, you've got this one. This is the same one I showed you. This is the one I used, so you saw that one. And then you've got this beautiful piece, and I'm going to guess these cut out with the dies. This pine cones you can cut with the dies. These little pieces are all die friendly. And the back side of that piece is an old olive. And then you saw that one, because that's this one. Okay. So just wanted you to see that for free shipping. If you're going to be purchasing that, you might want to take a look at the suite, because that's where the faceted snowflake gems are as well. All right. Well, let's bring back in those cards. And where did I put the other one? Right here. Let me grab that up real quick. And as you saw, those cards went together pretty quickly. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back Thursday night at 7 p.m. with the treat box using the Delicate Pines, and the elegant Elegant Pine Snowflake Designer Series paper. And then I'll be back again next Tuesday night at 7, and we'll see what we're going to do then. All right. Good night, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, be sure to hit that notification bell. Thank you so much. Good night.